In our last class, we talked about multimedia and how they can greatly enhance user experience and make our page more dynamic. Today, we'll explore HTML forms in detail and how to gather user input. So, I encourage you to keep exploring multimedia so that you can get the hang of it. So, we want to understand HTML form. A form is created using the form element, just like in our last class. The video is created using the video element, an audio is created using an audio element. The action attribute specifies where the form data should be sent, and the method attribute defines the HTTP method. It is usually a get or a post attribute. Some of the form elements that we'll be needing in the form includes the text input, the password input, the radio button, the checkboxes, select button, the text area, and the submit button. Let us practically look at how this can be implemented today, because all these are very important. They're very crucial for collecting user input from the web pages, because majority of the time when you use the web page, you're going to a website, you're either filling a form or submitting a form. So let's see how that is brought to life. So we're back to our VS Code. So what we're doing today is HTML form. The first thing we want to look at is the text. So we use input. Before we do this, we call on the form attribute. So everything is going to be inside the form. Remember, the action attribute tells us which page is handling whatever is happening here. If you're submitting this form, what page are we submitting? So we will definitely look at that in the broader view when we get to using other programming language like PHP to call the script. So in the form, we will need the input tag. This tag does not have a closing button, so it's just this one. Everything that we are doing is inside this first opening tag. So the type is text because we want to collect the text from the input tag. In here, we can now see what's the name. This name is very important for retrieving information to the database. It's very important. So this is like the username that you supply. So we'll say let's just give it the username. You can give it any name that you want, assuming this is the first name that we are collecting. But this is assuming that you can use the first name if it's the first name that you're collecting. Okay, so I'm collecting a username. What is generic to most websites? So they collect username and password. Remember that when we put something like this and then there's no label, we will not have a way of describing what we are trying to retrieve from the customer because it will not show. That's why we use, remember this placeholder. So that placeholder is going to tell us what are we trying to do. The placeholder we are going to use is just to instruct the users of what to do. So you can tell the user, enter your username. Okay, we'll do the same thing for the password. So input, but instead of using text, we'll use a password. This password type is what enables our password to be asterisk. Nobody will see what you're typing. It's this password type. Then give it a name, password, and we also enter what we guess the correct placeholder. Enter your password. Since this is not going anywhere, you can use this. Let's look at how our form is coming out. Let's see whether we are doing something right. Okay, so this is what you have done. Enter your username and enter your password. If I type my username, it will be this, and then when I want to type my password, because we use the type password, so you see, you will not be able to see what I'm typing. But if I go ahead to use test here instead of password, test here instead of password, it displays the information that I have written there. So this has refreshed. Now, so you see, it's displaying the information because I'm not using the password type. So let me use the password type for security reasons. Now, remember, because this is an inline tag, what happens is it just goes on the same line with this tag. That's why you see the username and the password on the same line. We can add break tag to it to break that line. I'm adding 2 so that to give it more space. Let's view it. So it's down now. Now let's add more. Let's add more tags to it. So we'll add the tag called the radio button. So we use inputs, and what type of input are we type and entering? Radio. So this is, we're going to add an ID for this. It's a male. So we are giving the user to choose whether they are male or female or others. So the value is what is going to display on our page. Okay, we've added the male, the female, and then others. Notice that the name are all the same. This is very necessary. If we make a name different, it will not allow us to choose just one option. I'm going to show you. And also here, there is a label associated with each input. So we have the inputs for male ID. Notice this ID. Then we have the label for male. So you have some fonts where you click on this label and it just checks this button for you. What enables that? It is this ID and this 4 attributes. If your 4 attributes has the same value with your ID attribute, whenever you click here, this male, it checks this button for you. The same thing applies to this place and the same thing applies to this place. Let's look at it on the browser. So this is male, female, and others. you can click on this place. Sometimes when you use phone, it's difficult for you to click here. That's why your 4 attributes should be the same with your ID attribute. So if you click here, it activates here for you. It doesn't activate it. If you click here, it moves from here to here. If you click here, it moves from here to here. Okay, what enables this movement is this name, because they are the same. If I change this name, I've changed the name now. They are no longer the same. When I go to my browser to look at it, they are all clicking because the names are different. So this is not a check button, it's a radio button. We just want one to be clickable. So that's why we will use the same name. Okay, good. Now for the other label attribute 4 and then the ID, when we are using a mobile screen, sometimes it will be difficult for you to click here. You're not using a mouse, so you can click here. See, it will activate this for you because the 4 attributes in the label and the ID attributes in the input have the same value. If you look at it on the mobile, you see how small it is. So sometimes you may not be able to click on those radio buttons. You can just click on the label and it will activate what you want to activate. Okay, let's move on. Remember what to do here, because this is on the same line. Since we are not using CSS, what do we do? What do we add? Think about it so that it drops on this next line. But correct, you got it correct. We use the break tag. So let's use the break tag to push this down. You can copy this break tag and then add it to the other side. Okay. Okay. Another thing we want to add is the checkbox. Checkbox is like the radio button, but no, we use this to select multiple choices, like a multiple choice question. So in the checkbox, instead of using the type radio, we use the type checkbox. So we'll look at how this comes out in the browser. So this is the checkbox. So you can check multiple. Okay. This is allowed when you check multiple. Another thing I want to look at is the select and the text area. So this select option here helps us choose from a list of options. But in the select, we also need another tag called the option tag. So once you select, input the select option, you give it a name, country. Assuming we are looking at choosing countries, you give it a name, country. You put the option tag and give it a value. The value you want to pick from, USA. Then you give it the content, United States. Then the value of this one is Canada, content Canada. Then the text area, you type text area and this appears. So once you type this text area, this is what it's going to show. So you add the name, the ID if you want, then you can add the rows. The rows is how many, the width and the height you want it to be, the rows and the column. So you can add the rows, you can also add the column you want it to Okay. Add the values you want, just as this one has been presented here. Good. Another thing is the input, the type submit, that you click to submit the form. Once you're done, for every form you have, there is a submit button. Let's look at how it's represented or rendered on the browser. So this is it. So this is, let me give it some space so that you see how it looks. Okay, so this is the select button. You can either select United States or Canada. Okay, you can either select this two. This is comment. Sometimes they say leave a message for me. They use this. So the row and column determines the height and width. That's the width and the height of this text area. And this is the submit button that you click on and submit this form. You can also add something like this on the select button. Here, right here, you can add an option and add the value. I don't think we need any value for it. Just here, select the country. So select a country. I can disable this. So it's not clickable, but this is the first thing that you will see once you render the page. So select country is it's telling you now, so you can choose this one. Okay. So we've done excellent work today. You have mastered HTML form and how to collect user input. Forms are really powerful tools for interacting with users, so bear that in mind. We are going to talk about more HTML features of HTML5 in our next class. Feel free to comment where you need clarification, and I'll be in the comment section watching out for comments and questions. I have a small assignment too for you today, as usual. So create a contact form. The contact form should include text input for name and email. So now you collect email. Make research and find out how to input email. You can also ask in the comment section and I'll be there to guide you. Text area for message. Radio button for preferred contact type or contact method, and the submit button. So try your best. It's practice that makes improvement. You must not be perfect. Thank you. Like, comment, and then share.